So 2 years ago, your boy, Mr. Avik Khan, right over here, had no real estate. $0 in the bank account, maybe a couple hundred, right? And no real estate background, right? I wasn't friends with people who had a bunch of real estate or anything like that. Literally all I had was a laptop. I was in college at the time. I had just done door-to-door sales. I had a little bit of money that I saved up that I eventually blew through, all because I tried to start a social media marketing agency. And fast forward to today, through that laptop, DMing landlords in class, I now have 9 Airbnbs in 2 cities, and I do this all without owning a single property. All right, and in this video, what I want to do, you guys, is just break down exactly how I did it. All right, step by step, pretty much $0 to 9 Airbnbs. All right, and I know it might sound a little goofy, right? Until this day, I say it out loud and I'm like, this doesn't even sound real, right? It has to be a scam. This doesn't sound legit. How can you go from literally being a broke college student, right, to having 9 Airbnbs? It makes no sense. Also, you guys, peep my room real quick. It's a little messy right now, but this is my room. This is the setup. As you guys can see, my bed, very, very messy right now. I need to get a TV stand real quick. We got those kind of cool lamps. That one right there. This is the setup right now. My desk right over here. But yeah, you guys, I just want to break down exactly how I started. And yeah, so, you know, and to be completely honest, I have a little presentation that I'm kind of looking at. I just want to make sure you guys understand that. But like I told you guys, I started with no money, right? No experience. All I knew was that this very famous quote by Andrew Carnegie was said, where he said 90% of all millionaires are made through real estate, right? And I thought to myself, I was like, well, I know I want financial freedom, right? And I know if 90% of millionaires are made through real estate, that means on my end, I have a 90% odd or 90% chance of success through real estate, right? So I tried to do a bunch of different side hustles, right? Or I started looking at a bunch of different side hustles. I looked at wholesaling, right? I had a friend who did wholesaling. He didn't make any money until 5 months in, right? And he landed one deal worth 5K. Now, admitted, people always say that about any business model, right? If I tell you that Section 8 is bad, there's 10 other people who will vouch for Section 8 that say that's amazing, right? Or for wholesaling. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying for me specifically, wholesaling wasn't it. Section 8 was starting to kind of pop off at the time, but to me, dealing with homeless tenants or people who are very, very low income, and again, no offense to them, right? It just didn't seem like the most reliable or the safest route for me. It just sounded like a very big hassle. Admitted, Section 8, it's government backed, yes, but again, it's just, do I want to deal with low income, basically homeless people? No, right? What other things? Fix and flips, right? I have friends till this day that, you know, they fix houses, right? They're contractors or whatever you call them. They work long hours, right? And it seems like a lot of hard work. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about doing hard work. Hard work has never stopped me, but that is not the type of hard work that I personally wanted to do, right? Where you're literally in a place fixing homes, right? To me, that didn't really sound like a lot of fun. Not to mention, I felt like there was just going to be something better for me, right? So when I run wholesaling, fix and flips, Section 8, the biggest at the time, the most common, right, is long-term rentals, right, where you actually buy a home and then you find a long-term tenant. Now, that's great, but most cases, right, you either need an investor or you need a 20% down payment. I had neither of those, right? I had maybe a couple $100s in the bank account. So that was cooked for me. And then obviously you guys know what I do today is Airbnb arbitrage, right? Where basically all you do is you rent out a home or an apartment, you relist it on Airbnb, right? And again, this is only legal if you get permission from the landlord, from the management company, the apartment complex, whatever, right? And I only say that because a lot of you guys in my comment section, whether it's on YouTube, on TikTok, Instagram, are always like, well, isn't that illegal? There's no way a landlord would agree to this, right? And obviously, if you just say, hey, I want to Airbnb your property, I would say 85 people are going to say no. The other 12 people are going to say, let me hear out, and then they're going to say no, and then maybe you'll get lucky and have like 3 potential people who are kind of interested to it, but probably won't go through, right? So there's a way that you have to pitch it to them, essentially. But anyways, I know it sounded impossible, and at first it sounded impossible to me too, right? what I started to do was just start learning about the actual business model, right? I started watching YouTube videos. I started cold calling landlords. I was taking notes on everything, all right? And my first deal, right, to be completely honest, I remember this till this day. I was in my statistics class, all right, in college, right, sophomore in college, and I was DMing a landlord, and they responded to me, and they were like, hey, we'd be interested. I had a whole pitch that I went through, right? I pitched myself as a professional company. I told them what I did. We have, you know, our own tenants, and we do put the listing on other third-party short-term rental sites, right? I never told them it was Airbnb. That's very key. I told it to them in person on the tour. But anyways, I told them that. They were down. And again, it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, right? It was in a complex. I knew this landlord had other condos in the area as well, in that same complex. So I was very, very, very keen on having a good relationship with this landlord, all right? So rent was around $1,500 at the time. Now it's $1,600 because he's a smart landlord. He raised rent on me, right? And I think in furniture, I spent around $5,000 to $6,000, right? Now I cheaped out on furniture big time. And when I say cheaped out, I don't mean I got low quality furniture. I mean, I was out here going on Facebook Marketplace, finding the best of best deals, right? I did not cheap out in the sense that I wasn't getting quality. I was just buying very cheap furniture that was high quality, right? And in my first month, right, we cash flowed $2,500, right? And it was crazy. This was during peak season. And I was like, wow, this actually works. This is insane to me, right? And after that, you guys, people think real estate needs to be complicated. People think Airbnb arbitrage might be complicated too, right? It was literally a matter of, number one, finding something that worked, right? Airbnb arbitrage, it worked for me. The hardest part about the business is peak season and slow season, all right? Now, during slow season, I'll be completely honest, my first year, I barely broke even, all right? There were times where I was like, holy, if I don't get another booking, I'm low-key cooked, right? And that all came down to me not knowing what I was doing in the beginning, right? I didn't have a good pricing strategy. I didn't have a good method of still getting booked during slow season. That's literally the hardest part of the business model. And I think if you figure that out, which obviously after my first year, I figured that out, you're golden, right? So after that, I just rinsed and repeated the process, you guys. There was nothing else, right? I built a great relationship with my landlord, who now, the very first landlord that I have gives me 4 Airbnbs, right? Or 4 properties. I have 3 2-bed condos with that one landlord and a 4-bedroom townhome with that same landlord, all right? And then the other ones, the other 3 that I have are all in the same apartment complex. Again, just one management company. And then I have 2 in a different city based in my hometown. And those are all with the same landlord as well, right? So you might think that I have 9 Airbnbs at this time I have 9 Airbnbs. And you might think that I have 9 different landlords, right? That's not true at all. I only have 3 different landlords that I talk to. So I built relationships with the landlords, right? They all had multiple units, and I learned how to actually negotiate deals with them too, right? I no longer just sign 1-year leases. I now sign 3 to 5-year leases. So why is that good? It's good because I now protect myself to a point where every single year I'm not getting a 3% rent increase, right? That only happened on my first 1 to 2 units. Ever since then, it's just been same amount of rent for the next 3 to 5 years, all right? I would say the biggest thing that helped me scale to multiple properties, right? Because that's the whole point of this video. Again, I'm sorry if I just yap. I like to yap sometimes. Sometimes I just get lost in my train of thought. But the biggest thing when I started off was I didn't know pricing, right? And obviously, if I'm going to pick up multiple units, right? Not just have 1 Airbnb, but 3, 5, 9, right? I really had to learn pricing. And I would say Price Labs is the biggest tool that I use. It's a pricing automation software, right? I use HostAway, right? HostAway is basically a platform where I can just send automatic messages, right? And these aren't like Airbnb's messages. These are, if a guest leaves 2 hours later, I send them a message so that they leave me a great review, right? If they don't leave me a review, then 2-3 days later, I send another message. So these are very, very detailed automated messages that are being sent, right? Check-in instructions. For my first 3 Airbnbs, right? I was out here copy and pasting the check-in information for every guest. And it's like, dude, you can't be doing that at 9 Airbnbs, right? So it's tiny things like those, Price Labs, HostAway, that I really had to dial in, get really, really good at. And then from then on, I was able to actually scale very, very quickly. And again, I never went through anything other than YouTube, right? So I had to learn this the hard way. And the biggest thing I think for me was not just thinking of it like a host, right? Don't just always be a great host. Obviously you want to be a great host, right? But you need to think about Airbnb arbitrage as a business owner, right? What are dumb things that are taking up your time in the business that you can actually automate, right? Or that someone else can handle, right? So now every deal that I work out, right, I always have cleaners. I'm not cleaning my units. I used to do that in the beginning and I hated it, right? I now have great screening processes, right? Where no one who just makes a brand new account can book my Airbnb, right? They have to send me a message. They have to inquire, essentially, is what it's called. And they have to tell me what they're gonna do with the property. Otherwise, I just won't let them book, right? And people are always worried about bad guests in Airbnb, and you will have bad guests if you don't have the proper screening procedures, right? So what I'm trying to say is every single deal that I took, right, I learned, right? I realized that systems are better than just, grinding it out, sending copy and pasting messages, right? You can't be doing that. My relationship with my cleaners and with my landlords are the biggest things, right? Now what I do is I sometimes pay rent on time, right? Or not on time, but I pay it earlier, way before it's actually due. Why is that good? It just shows to the landlord that, hey, this kid's already paying rent 5 days early. They can definitely pick up more units from me, right? The biggest thing is not to also just scale quickly, but to scale smart, right? I picked up 2 bedrooms very quickly, right? I realized my 1 bedrooms were making just as much money. So why did I just spend so much time and more money on 2 bedrooms where my 1 bedrooms are making just as much money, right? And now I'm at a point where my 4 bedroom townhome is just blowing out these numbers, right? It's just doing insane numbers. It's bringing 3 to 4 times the amount that my 2 or even my 1 bedrooms are making. So now moving forward, I'm like, okay, Avik, honestly, real talk, you should only be picking up bigger Airbnbs now. And that's also very dependent on what market you're in, right? In some markets, a 4 bedroom townhome or a 4 bedroom home might not make as much as a 2 or 1 bedroom. That's where market research comes in handy, right? And now you guys know I just moved to Nashville, right? I'm in a house with a bunch of my boys and I manage 9 Airbnbs literally across, I think it's like a 7-8 hour drive, right? I'm 3-4 states away. I'm in Nashville. My units are in Indiana and in Michigan, right? And it all is possible because I built systems, right? I built a small team. I've partnered with my cleaners. And now what I'm doing is teaching other people how to get into their first Airbnb, right? And to be completely honest, right, every single day that goes by through this YouTube video, through my content, you will see that I'm still learning every single day. By no means do I ever claim that I have, I've learned it all. I really haven't. There are people my age that are millions of dollars, thousands of properties ahead of me, right? But if you're watching and you think that you can't start, trust me, I am living proof that you can, right? My parents are missionaries. I don't come from a rich family or anything like that, right? And I guess the whole reason I'm making this video is because, number one, I think it'll be cool 2-3 years later when I watch this and hopefully I'm at like 20 Airbnbs that I actually own now and I'm not just renting. I can look back at it and be like, yo, this is cool. But also as motivation for you, whoever you are that's watching, right? If you're watching this thinking real estate is insanely complicated, you can't start, I am here to prove to you that it is possible, that you can start. And you guys, I literally do this to show you everything I wish I knew when I started, right? Bit of a documentary for me, right? And also just pure motivation, you guys. It's cool to me that people even watch me, right? I think my last YouTube video, I think we got like 180 views. And to me, having a room full of 180 people that are even watching me is insane. That's why I do what I do. And yeah, you guys, I don't know what else to talk about. I'm low-key just been yapping, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I appreciate you guys just tuning in, hearing me yap for like 10 to 15 minutes. And as always, you guys, if you have any questions, you guys want to see certain type of content, drop it in the comments. I would appreciate it if you guys subscribe to me. I hate even sounding like that. Please subscribe to me. But yeah, you guys, that's it for today's video. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.